So who are three people that have always believed in you in Devourment?
Let's see. I guess that would day one would just have to include Ruben, Mike Majewski, and Wayne Knupp, who I didn't really get to
Gotcha.
meet much. I think I really only met him one time, but the three of them were, as far as I know, putting the band back together at the time when I was initially invited. So I don't know if I'd say they always believed in me, but that's at least three people who are popping up as a trio in my mind who believed enough to ask me to be a part of it.
Right. Yeah, you were a bassist for a long time in that band. Like, how's it feel to play guitar now?
Yeah, well, it feels great. It was actually kind of a power play, to be honest. I mean, guitar is my instrument. I've told this story before, so sorry if it's redundant, but I actually was going to join on drums. That's when they had approached me because I'd been playing in a band called Kill the Client that was, one of the only bands around here that had like extreme kind of drums like that. So I think they asked Brad to rejoin, and he wasn't interested at the time. So then I came up, and that's when I'd gotten approached about it. But there were some issues for some reason within the band I was in at the time about taking that opportunity. So I just at the time thought it was best, like for everyone involved, if I just stepped down. So then they got Eric Park to play drums, and they recorded that first Butcher of the Week LP. And then by the time it was about time for them to start playing shows, they needed a bass player, and they asked me about doing that because they had heard from a bandmate of mine that I played bass as well. But the reason I play bass is because I play guitar. I really just had a bass laying around the house because my mom had one, and I'd use it to, like track, multi-track, just different parts on stuff. And then that's kind of the only role that was needed for bands for a while. So I got better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got better at playing with my fingers and stuff on the right hand, and that became, kind of the instrument that I did the most professionally for a long time, thanks to the Devourment role. But then things kind of gotten shooken up internally, and Ruben left the fold for a minute, so we were basically just down to a couple people, and the guitar role was pretty much open. So once that became apparent,
I want that. I don't want to be a bass player no more. I'm done.
Yeah. I was tired of just using one finger and one string, one fret pretty much. So I mean, actually,
do you use a pick or no pick?
It depended. Sometimes, I mean, I would usually just use my fingers because frankly it was easier. I didn't think it sounded as good really at the end of the day sometimes. So I liked occasionally I recorded with a pick. I know Unleashed at Carnivore I did that because I started with my fingers and it just wasn't having the same attack that I wanted. So I used a pick mainly to record there. But usually I'd play with my fingers unless I like tore them open or something, and they were wounded and I would have to use a pick to get by or something. But that happened a few times.
Yeah,
because I used to I couldn't really practice the technique I had, so I would pretty much just like my hands would go numb in shows because I would get flooded with adrenaline or something, and I would just basically start like punching the bass with all the with like whatever the only muscles that were left in my right arm were in my forearm, so I would kind of just like fling my hand into the bass, and that would usually end up giving me these blisters that would bust open. So sometimes I'd have to use a pick if those are open.
I feel like that's the nicest part about guitar. Like there's literally no way you can use fingers, so don't fuck yourself up.
You can if you're the Doors, but you wouldn't really play the style like that.
Yeah.
But I still get injuries here and there. Like sometimes I'll kind of cut like the back of my hand. I mean, that's kind of built up, but sometimes those the palm muting and stuff can get the string scraping on the back of your fingers there, and I always find some way to fuck myself up. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Yeah. So besides promotion and like major record deals, how has Relapse Records stepped up Devourment's approach to the music industry?
Well, I mean, it was the first time we ever um, looked for a lawyer. Was dealing with them, and it's definitely been more professional experience than previous labels that were more kind of handshake deals and just copies of your
Yeah.
album kind of deals, and so it's definitely stepped up. Um, what we saw and how we thought about the music business, so to speak. I still think there's a lot more to be known, to be smart these days. I mean, things are changing so much that I don't even know what we're doing anymore. But um,
Yeah.
but yeah, they've been real cool. I mean, I think a big part of it was just just wanting to be on Relapse, being fans of the
Oh
label and
my
like
god,
everything
yeah.
they'd put out, and just being like huge death metal underground, grindcore fans and all that. Like, that was pretty much the coolest part of it. I mean, we've been approached by them and Earache at the same time, and both those seem like really cool, things to to be associated with. But yeah, they give us a percentage of sales, and they put all the stuff out there online and everything. So they're doing good.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like record labels that aren't that big, like I've always had this like skepticism about, printing records, like how much they actually sell and then how much they actually tell the artist. Like I feel like some like, handshake deals, you don't really get all the money. Like,
Yeah, um, yeah. That's. I mean, I remember there was something in our contract about how you could request an audit or something, and that just seems so nightmarish to be. I mean, we pretty much just trust them to the point. So hopefully they're correct. But I mean, yeah,
yeah,
you can look into that if you want to. I've honestly, I'm real pessimistic about everything. I have no idea how much it could be selling or should be selling or whatever. I'm usually
right.
just happy that it sold more than 3 copies, and
Yeah, right.
I'm not sniffing around any further and thinking we're getting shafted or anything like that.
Yeah. So here's a good question. Because Devourment has content that people like get offended about and shit. Does Relapse try to censor anything that you guys put out?
Um, they were asking us this last time if we could just very kindly like not use the F word. Fuck. They've had a problem with that for some reason. I don't know. I mean, I thought they used to print it on shirts and stuff, and I know a lot of bands use it, so they didn't really seem to care about shit or cunt or you know anything like that. So I don't really get it. But yeah, I couldn't say fuck. I think we ended up doing it anyway. Um, I,
Right.
I'm completely lying right there. That was an absolute lie. They haven't said they haven't said they haven't said anything to us really. um,
Gotcha.
I mean, I imagine that's part of the appeal, from whatever market research they've done, or the scene that they know that we are tied into.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure they're kind of expecting us
that
to
was a
offend
big
people.
question. Like Cannibal Corpse. I know they tried. I don't know, not them, but I've heard people trying to censor that band, and they're like, "Go fuck yourself." But like when they go to play in different countries, like they won't let them play. So,
Yeah, that's
but I don't
a
know.
serious deal. I mean, in our travels all over the world, it kind of makes you like think about that stuff a little bit more straightforward, and think like, maybe having Jesus as a cunt on my shirt at the airport isn't so smart after all. Like you might,
Yeah.
we've kind of self censored honestly more than anything, just because at this point it's kind of dumb. Like we still, like the offensive feeling, but not necessarily like needing to get there, head on. I mean, it's easy to offend people. I could say the N word like 50 times right now in my career, but I'm not trying to
Yeah.
push that button, so offensiveness isn't really like the end goal. It's definitely like that feeling of shock, that's still part of it. But, I mean, us personally,
Sure.
like our new album cover doesn't have, much on it. I mean, it's the kind of thing that you would, just see in like a
Yeah.
regular like art
Expect.
gallery
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. Because, there's so much of it out there. I mean, there's really no point into doing it unless you're like particularly inspired, by a certain vision or something. And and B, you know, it does kind of get to that like getting banned in countries things. I mean, if you've got, you know, a million like bisected pregnant women on t-shirts in your bags, you know, and customs are looking through that, and they're kind of wondering like, what are you
Yeah.
guys about? You know, do we really want to let you into our country? And you know,
Yeah.
it's an actual concern. I mean, it's not like something that's making
Have
us,
you
you know, stop what we do. But I mean, when you think about the choice of, you know, printing like a slit throat or a, you know, or like a maggot or something, you know, you'll choose the maggot because it's not as overtly terroristic, you know.
right. Have you, had any problems with that over the years?
Yeah, not directly, but I mean, we did get deported from England one time, really for a different
Wow.
reason than that. But you know, when they were searching all of our stuff, I mean, they were definitely like giving it looks like that. You know, like you're watching these customs agents who don't give a shit about you at all unless you're like Madonna or something, and um, you know, they're looking through, you know, these shirts with like, you know, fucking gore and, you know, the album titles and like the song titles and, you know, fuck her head off and serial cocksucker and baby killer and shit. And they're, you know, these are the people who are making the decision whether or not they want to give you an exception because you're a musician and you just didn't have the right permits, or if they want to send you home, you know, and they're looking at that shit. And I'm sure that weighs into the decision. They're like, oh, these guys are a bunch of degenerate assholes. You know, we don't really want them around anyway. So, you know, the fact that they
Yeah.
broke one little rule here, I think is good enough cause just to send them home. But yeah, we got fucked over pretty bad. We got sent home and nearly derailed our first European tour. But luckily, our drummer Eric Park's family was able to kind of chip in on an emergency fund at the time, and we got flown back out there and finished it like missing 3 days. But yeah, that screwed us over pretty bad. You know, and just mainly that experience alone. I mean, a lot of times as well, you know, you have to lie to get into these places. Like, I don't know if people realize that. Like, a lot of people will get online and they'll be like, "Hey, why don't you come to my city?" You know, and there's a lot of shit that's kind of like
Yeah,
problematic about a lot of
especially in
places.
the
Like,
genre, like,
yeah,
metal, I if you have anything like, anything that people don't believe in or think, that's
well,
shitty, like, and
honestly,
it brings a
I
whole new level.
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of making the opposite point right now, but I don't think that's really as big of a deal. I think they're more just not receptive to any entertainer who's not famous and not like going to you know, obviously bring the economy a lot of money, you know, just independent art in
Yeah,
general. But it certainly doesn't help when your art contains, you know, shocking and violent and, you know, hateful kind of words and images. I mean, that definitely, you know, if you're like someone they have their eye on and you're like out there promoting love, you know, like you'll still probably get banned from Russia. But you know, like it certainly doesn't help for most countries.
yeah, you
But
don't
most
get a
countries
pat
don't give
on
a
the
shit,
back.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, you know, that being said, a lot of people are cool. A lot of governments are cool. A lot of customs agents, and they'll just laugh about it or smile about it or, you know, make a joke about it or, you know, think it's funny. When we went to Indonesia, actually, I think the second time, I don't know how or why they approached us, but I think like these customs agents just started coming up to us for pictures, and then at one point we ended up taking like a group photo with like 16 of them. Like they just, I don't know if they knew who we were specifically or if they were just like, oh, this is a famous white band, you know, like who they're musicians, they're carrying
who are
guitar
these guys?
cases. Yeah, they must be famous, you know.
Right,
So, but yeah, we posed for a huge group photo with like all of the customs people in Indonesia. So
that's awesome.
sometimes they're cool and it's like the exact opposite, you know, and they think you're awesome. But um, you know, just on the topic, it generally does kind of help your cause if you're not you know, if you don't have sweatpants that say 100% pedophilia on them or something like that.
So, what are some things that you've noticed that people enjoy about your band other than the music?
Um, other than the music, I think people really
Yeah.
like the logo. I think the logo is something that people really get into. I mean, that's kind of an enduring. You know, it almost doesn't really matter like what we print on a shirt. Um, It
Right.
seems like the logo is going to be the main thing. um, I think people like to wear like flat brim baseball caps too, and our music really enables them to do that.
Yeah.
And rocking out to like wearing a basketball jersey and stuff like that.
Dude,
Um,
we gotta bring back trucker hats.
oh yeah,
I'm telling you. That
yeah.
would be
I'm
cool.
They fit well. Uh, that's true. I'm real bad at getting merch printed though. Maybe camo trucker hats. That would solve that problem.
Oh, I'm sold. Um, Here's another question for you. What made you guys decide it was time to retrack Baby Killer on Butcher of the Week?
Luckily I wasn't around for that, so I don't have an answer for
Gotcha.
that. I was, a party to retracking it a second time when we re-recorded Butcher of the Week,
Uh-huh.
and in my defense, I'll just say I was kind of new at that point and didn't really have a say in it, or not a say in it, but just didn't really care enough to think about it. I definitely didn't really make sense to me, but I think at that time I was thinking that like the way I was viewing the fan base was still kind of from the outside. So I was like, oh, people like this, like they really like the re-recorded Baby Killer. So
Mhm.
it'll be cool to do again. But I honestly couldn't tell you why it was done in the first place.
Gotcha. So, since 1995, how has Devourment stayed super consistent? Like whether it be recordings, tours, all of the above.
Well, we stay consistent on tours by only touring about like 2 days out of the year, because
Mhm.
that's a pretty easy target to hit. In
Yeah.
terms of music, I think we all kind of understand what it's supposed to sound like. There's it also helps that the lineups change so much. I mean, as weird as that is, it kind of creates a situation where there's not like someone who started the band who thinks it's his vision, who thinks like whatever he's into at the moment is what it needs to sound like. I mean, we all put that into it, but at the end of the day, there's still like like a brand that we're perpetuating, and we all know that it needs to just be fucking extreme and heavy, and um, we try
Yeah.
to add as much as we can to keep it fresh, but like also there is that understanding that if you add too much of it, then it becomes something else entirely, and then you're like not the same band
Yeah, then it's
anymore.
not Devourment.
Right.
Yeah. So who has been like the major driving force behind the scenes?
Well, for the last few years, I mean, I kind of started things back up. When I got into it, I think Mike Majewski took care of most of the business kind of stuff, and like setting up shows with people and interfacing with the outside world more. And then he left the band in 2014, um, and then kind of around that point, I kind of became the de facto leader because I kind of reassembled it from that point. So I take care of quite a bit. I'm not really gifted in a lot of ways, so um, you know, I'll, I mean, it's pretty much democratic at this point. No one's really like driving the cart. It's just
Right. Right. Right.
four horses, and I guess Ruben kind of pulls his legs up most of the time and just chills. But he's, but yeah, we all take care of shit at this point, and handle inquiries, and you know take care of stuff, and take care of shit, and take care, and
Right.
so on and so forth.
So so what are some funny memories that you guys have, well, that you reminisce when going on tour with Cannibal Corpse?
Um, Let me think. See, I keep kicking myself in particular since hanging out with Vogue Hills. He was talking about that show, I think being one of his first death metal shows, and the one in Buffalo, and you know, it was making me think about that tour, and I didn't take any fucking pictures the whole time with any of them. So stupid.
Damn.
Yeah, and you know, we hung out with them. I mean, they're all really cool. I mean, certainly like some of them were, you know, more into doing their own thing. We actually, I guess this qualifies as a story that World of Warcraft tattoo that Corpse Grinder has on his forearm. He got
Yeah.
it on that tour. Like, like,
Oh
uh,
shit.
yeah, it wasn't there at first, and then I think halfway through he shows up with his arm, you know, wrapped in cellophane, and that symbol. I had no idea what it was at the time, but
You're like,
yeah,
what the hell happened to you, man?
yeah.
That's funny.
Like, oh, that's nice. You got a little piece of clip art on your arm, and then lo and
Yeah.
behold,
He's
it's
like, nah,
tied to.
man.
Yeah, this is my world.
Right.
This is my world of Warcraft.
Dude, every time
Um,
every time I see him, either in Rochester or Buffalo, he always makes a reference to that. Every show, the tattoo, he either like points to it or somehow he shows it off. But
that's
no,
awesome.
he loves that.
Last time I saw him was we played with him at Hellfest, and um, for some reason, since like there were so many huge bands there, I went on this tear of just trying to take photos with like everyone who I looked up to in some way, you know, just be a total fanboy. And Cannibal Corpse definitely fell into that realm. You know, they were easier to approach since I'd met him before, but
Yeah.
Corpse Grinder was pretty much just like, I think like the only thing he said to me was like, I have to take a huge shit. And that was the extent of it. He didn't
Good
show off his
conversation.
tattoo or
Thanks.
anything. Yeah, it was great.
That's
You know,
funny.
thanks, cool dude. Can I
So
take a photo
how
with you?
is yeah, he's like, nah, man, you could come to the bathroom with me. We'd take a picture in there.
Yeah, you got to get it on the run.
So shit. Have you watched that video of him going to Target?
No.
He has like an obsession with like when he's on tour, like going to Target and like shopping for clearance stuff. It's awesome. It's like
That is awesome.
15 minutes long. It's
That sounds
sick.
really. That sounds like a good hobby. You know,
I'm gonna
'cause
send it to you after this.
yeah, I do. I'll check that shit out. I like going to
Oh,
like the big truck stops, like the Love's truck stops, whenever those are available.
right.
But it's nothing like Target.
So yeah, Target's huge, man. Um, so how is Dallas, Texas, kind of influenced you, like the sound that you guys are trying to make?
Well, I mean, it's kind of an oppressive, highly industrial, highly faceless commercial shithole. Um, so I, you know, I guess the darkness kind of fills us through drinking the water from Dallas and Tarrant County.
Right.
You know, it's weird. It's a big city, but it's also just kind of under that level of like you know, a New York or LA or Paris or something where, you know, it's just like huge. I mean, it still has like a suburban feel most places, and um I don't know, it's not super interesting. Maybe that helps too.
Yeah. How
I have a lot of time to
how's the
spend inside.
how's the scene down there? The under like local metal scene.
Well, it's fucking dead.
Is it? Well, obviously
Yeah.
not right now. I'm talking like
Yeah, COVID-19,
like
brother.
before all this shit happened. No, I'm not like before COVID-19, my bad.
No, that's cool. I actually just wanted to say that anyway. I'm glad you didn't qualify. Um, no, I mean it's good. It's kind of interesting too because for a long time I had like I mean it's not interesting at all. It's fucking boring. I'm sorry I prefaced it that way, but I've always assumed like the local scene was just dog shit. You know, that was kind of like the
Yeah.
prevalent. You know, no offense to, you know, my friends from the past and everything, but like it's mainly like new metal or metalcore, or someone ripping
Oh,
off Pantera, or there's like people had good ideas, but they were never really fully there. Like they kind of always had some sort of
right.
like large dosage of lameness in the mixture that kind of clued you in as to the fact that they weren't really you know in the vein that you were trying to tap. But lately, I guess, for and I say lately, it really means several years because time just fucking flies now. But lately, the
Yeah,
local scenes had a lot of like real shit and real good shit, and there's people who actually know what the fuck they're doing, and aren't trying to like be Lamb of God or whatever. And um
new metal.
well,
Fucking
it's
new
always
metal.
technically been new. I mean, I like new metal. I fucking honestly try to put as much new metal into Devourment as I can get away with. But that's good shorthand for what it all really is. I mean, metalcore, deathcore, like whatever the fuck it is in this time period. There's always that group of guys who kind of just got into it and want to play like the head bobbing, breakdowns and shit. And it's like, okay. Like yeah,
Right.
whatever that style is, it's there's always some rednecks trying to do it. But yeah, definitely
That's awesome.
like we got like Frozen Soul now. I hate getting into the fucking name dropping shit because I always just like forget everyone. But
Oh, that's all right.
Reviled is a good like death metal band we got around here now. Empty Shell is this kind of cool grindcore band from around. Cognizant is huge. They've got Brian Fajardo plays in like
Yeah,
every
actually, I'm
grindcore
friends with him
band.
on
And
Facebook.
oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, he we're Eskimo band brothers. I guess technically he replaced me and killed the client back in the day. Which it's an honor to be
gotcha.
like to be taken. To have your responsibilities taken by someone who's that badass. I mean, that's kind of a nice little pat on the back there on your way out. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're cool. Fuck, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
about
they
to
just
forget
dropped a pretty
everything
good
now.
EP, a new one, I think.
Yeah, who?
The last band that you were talking about, Cognizant.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
almost
Yeah,
positive they.
I already forgot who I'd been talking about. Yeah, I think
That's all right.
they are coming out with something, or already have, or whatever. I'm not a good pitch man for that sort of thing, but yeah, there's a lot of great stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm just gonna cut it off now, and no offense to everyone I didn't mention, even though none of them are gonna probably listen to this anyway, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So after 6 years, what did Devourment want to prove on the latest album?
Um, that's a good question because I wouldn't express it as something to prove, but I mean, we kind of did. We wanted to
Yeah,
um, show that we still had that venom, like it, because I think we didn't really
yeah,
like
you could.
slow down or get like it's not like we turned into Amorphous or anything and started like playing flutes and singing and stuff, but like it definitely did get kind of a little more middle of the road, I guess I would say, and a
Yeah,
little less like savage. And we definitely
it sounds a lot. It sounds a lot faster, in my opinion, and more like grindcore. You know.
yeah, well, a lot of that is from my writing. I mean, I'm more of a up tempo kind of guy, even though I'm getting older, and I feel like now like breakdowns make more sense to me because I don't want to put as much effort into my playing.